Before we begin, let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt overlooked, forgotten, like everyone else was chosen while you were left behind? If so, then the story of David might speak to you more than you think. Because long before he became a king, David was the son nobody noticed, the brother nobody expected, the shepherd nobody remembered. Yet God saw something in him that nobody else could see. And what happened next would change the history of Israel forever. Imagine being forgotten by your own family, not ignored for a day, not overlooked by a stranger, but completely dismissed by the people who know you best. That is exactly what happened to David. When the prophet Samuel came to Bethlehem to choose the future king of Israel, David wasn't even invited to the gathering. His father brought all of his older brothers, strong men, experienced men who looked like leaders. But David was left alone in the fields, watching sheep. And yet, out of all the sons of Jesse, God chose him. Why? Why would God pass over stronger men? Why would he reject those who looked more qualified? And why does this ancient story still matter today? To understand the answer, we need to go back to a time when Israel was facing a crisis. Their king, Saul, had started well. He was tall, impressive, respected, everything people expected from a king. But over time, Saul stopped listening to God. His pride grew, his obedience faded, and eventually, God made a decision that shocked the nation. A new king would be chosen, not from another kingdom, not from a noble family, but from a small town called Bethlehem. God sent the prophet Samuel to the house of a man named Jesse. Samuel arrived carrying a horn filled with oil. This oil represented God's blessing and calling. One of Jesse's sons would become the next king. As the family gathered, Jesse proudly presented his oldest son, Eliab. The moment Samuel saw him, he was impressed. Eliab looked exactly like a king. He was tall, strong, confident. Everything about him suggested leadership. Samuel immediately thought, "Surely this is the one the Lord has chosen." But then God spoke, and what God said became one of the most important lessons in the entire Bible. "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him." The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. This was surprising. If Eliab wasn't the one, then surely one of the other brothers would be. One after another, Jesse presented his sons. The second son, rejected. The third son, rejected. The fourth, rejected. The fifth, rejected. The sixth, rejected. The seventh, rejected. At this point, Samuel was confused. God had specifically sent him here, yet every son standing before him had been rejected. Then Samuel asked a question that changed everything. "Are these all your sons?" Think about that for a moment, Samuel had to ask, because nobody had even considered David important enough to bring. Jesse answered, "There is still the youngest. He is tending the sheep." Those words reveal something remarkable. David wasn't forgotten by accident. His own father didn't believe he belonged in the conversation. While his brothers stood before a prophet, David was working in the fields. While others were being considered for greatness, David was doing ordinary work. But what nobody realized was that God had been preparing David all along. Out in those lonely fields, David was learning responsibility. He was protecting sheep from danger. He was learning courage. He was learning patience. He was learning faith. The qualities that would eventually make him a great king were being developed long before anyone noticed him. This is often how God works. People focus on public success. God focuses on private character. People admire talent. God examines the heart. People reward appearance. God values faithfulness. When David was finally brought before Samuel, God immediately said, "Rise and anoint him. This is the one." Can you imagine that moment? The boy nobody expected, the son nobody invited, the shepherd nobody noticed, chosen above everyone else, not because he looked impressive, not because he had influence, not because he had power, but because his heart belonged to God. Years later, David would defeat Goliath. Years later, he would become king. Years later, songs would be written about him. June 19th, 2026, 1853. Karina Kaloyanova. But all of that began on a day when everyone else underestimated him. And perhaps that's why this story continues to inspire people thousands of years later. Many people know what it feels like to be overlooked, to feel invisible, to watch others receive opportunities while you remain unnoticed. David understood that feeling. Yet his story reminds us that being overlooked by people does not mean being overlooked by God. The world may judge appearances. The world may judge status. The world may judge popularity. But God sees things differently. He sees what nobody else sees. He sees the character being built in private. He sees the faith that remains when nobody is watching. He sees the person hidden in the field long before they ever stand on a stage. And that may be the greatest lesson from David's story. The people around you may not recognize your potential. They may underestimate you. They may overlook you completely. But the God who saw David in the fields still sees people the same way today. And sometimes the person everyone ignores becomes the person God uses the most.